Good evening, everyone, and welcome along to round 5 of the 2022 VMO TCUK calendar. We're here in the leafy Cheshire countryside at Oulton Park Island for what's been an interesting championship season so far. My name's Alex Goldschmidt, commentating for you this evening. It's great to be back in the booth with this fantastic championship. Of course, we've got the push to pass, so we're running pretty much to spec as per 2022 touring car regulations. But we've just had qualifying completed, and it was Daniel Hurlock that put it on pole position by the best part of just over a tenth of a second ahead of John Munro from Sancho Simsport. Well, Oulton Park Island, just over 2.26 miles, 15 laps for the 3 respective races that we have tonight. So the format, as per usual on TCUK, qualifying sets the grid for race 1. Race 2 is the results from race 1, and then we have a bit of a reverse grid situation. As the cars have been out on track, we have quite a few new entries. But there you can see Daniel Hurlock from E-Team Hard took pole position from Cameron Brewster by just over a tenth of a second. John Munro from Sancho Simsport rounds out the top 3, followed by Chris Shepherd, Luke Maguire, Ryan Elliott, Phil Morby, Lewis Redshaw, Dan Kell and Stefan McCready. That's your top 10, covered by just over 4/10 of a second. Minna Schmidt, new signing for Go For The Gap Racing. She rounds out the top 11 ahead of Ben Willis from Drake Racing. Dan Hutt from TR Powered by Geeks Energy rounds out the top 13 ahead of Jakub Kowalski and Chris Butcher from THR. Top 15 covered by 8/10. Toby Davis, Moritz Kopp, Tom Stevens, Johannes Leppit, Tobias Blumschein, who's a new entry for this evening through the Richards & Co Racing side of things. Then Tom Ely, Daniel Hyde, James Gardner, Scott Morris, Sam Dowman and Max Spooner. Max Spooner now migrates back to an old haunt of his, Quartermaster Racing. So we've got 26 cars ready that will be readying up very, very soon. As you can see, there's the Canada Croft is the next round on the calendar because we've had a month's hiatus here at TCUK. Croft is on the 22nd of September, the full 300 layout of Snetterton, 5th of October. Then we go north of the border to Knock Hill on the 19th of October, just 2 weeks after. The penultimate round of the championship heads to the Silverstone National Circuit on the 2nd of November. And Brands Hatch Grand Prix rounds out the 2022 Pixelate Touring Car UK Series on the 16th of November. So at the moment in the championship standings, well, there you go. There is the Spotters guide for you guys and girls watching along with us. Already got some people popping into the chat. Good evening to Jack London saying up the Dan Kell. So it's only giving 2 cars. No Ross McGregor this evening, I understand, thanks to some insider information courtesy of fellow Sancho Simsport driver John Munro. But it's Chris Butcher that leads the championship standings on a total of 165 points with 2 wins and 8 podiums so far. Matt Richards rounds out the top 2, the leading independent in the class. Matt Richards has always been good in a touring car, but he's not here this evening. So people behind, such as Dan Kell, Dan Hurlock, Ross McGregor, as I said earlier, not here this evening, rounds out the top 5 in the championship, with 3 of the top 5 drivers already having secured at least 1 victory, but both Butcher and Richards have 2 wins apiece. John Munro has 2 wins apiece. He's currently 9th down in the championship standings and looks to make some inroads here at this 2.26 mile, 3.6 kilometre circuit. And a very, very close qualifying session. Johannes Leppit, who was 18th, rounds out, it was covered by just under 1.1 seconds. Krinox going, let's go E-Team Hard. Feel free to get involved with the chat all the way through the evening. We are going to have some fantastic racing action. I've actually been to, well, funny enough, I ventured to Oulton Park in real life for the first time as more of a spectator last July, and it's a fantastic track. It's got so much opportunities for overtaking. There's a lot of undulation. You've got the iconic Hislops and Knickerbrook part of the circuit down at the far end when they've gone through. So, I mean, effectively, there's going to be a lot of side-by-side action here at TCUK, especially going down the Avenue, Dentons, and into sweeping left-hander down at Cascades before the short run down Lakeside. There's no use of the Shell Oil's hairpin here, so the driver's going to be hard on the brakes. It's going to be a very, very tight hairpin, and you're going to expect some sends down there, then through into Hilltop before Hislops and Knickerbrook, and then you've got the far part of the circuit where it's fast, it's a little bit undulating, but also very, very technical. You've got to be on point with your setup. Of course, the drivers will have an opportunity to use the option tyres. And multiple drivers have decided in different races, some might use it early in the race evening, and some people might decide to go a little bit more, go for broke in the third and final race of this evening. So this is where drivers now have an opportunity to really put their stamp down on the championship. And when you consider the fact that a lot of drivers, I mean, I'm looking all the way down to Devin Parner, who in 16th position. Devin only competed at Brands Hatch Indy the second round of the season. This is the first time we've been able to broadcast, so apologies for the hiatus, guys and girls. We did do the initial broadcast for Donington Park back in on the 29th of June, but then it was Brands Hatch Indy, Silverstone International, and then the fast and ever-challenging Thruxton circuit in Hampshire that concluded round 4 and then gave the drivers an opportunity to get a little bit of a respite. But I'm sure that some of them will have been hard at work before getting through into this part of the season, because the races are going to come thick and fast. And with 3 races each night, it's about who can maximise their advantage. Consistency is going to be a key point. Anyone might remember myself and Phil Kinch. Shout out to that man there. We spent the best part of the previous season in 2021 commentating on the action. We were definitely not disappointed at all. Right, the drivers now are gridding up onto the circuit. 26 cars in total that are taking to the grid, and it is going to be a very, very interesting display. So they'll have, when everyone's readied up, they'll let the cars go on a formation lap, then get them into their starting positions on the grid in order for us to facilitate a standing start. It's a touring car staple, a standing start where everyone gets the rev limit, or gets the revs to the right point, dumps the clutch, engages first gear, and then from that point onwards, we're going to have a lot of fun. Now, there have been some changes because there were some penalties issued previous race. Daniel Hurlock, despite getting pole position, starts from 6th place, having received a 5-grid place penalty at Thruxton. Ross McGregor will have to serve his 5-place grid penalty at the next round at Croft on the 21st of September. Then we also had Mr. Stevens, Tom Stevens, qualified 14th, starts 24th. Then we also have a couple more places as well. Well, Max Spooner, starting from the back end of the grid, he got a 5-place penalty in that respect as well. So it's going to be a case of the drivers, yeah, they might get the fastest lap on track, but if they've got a looming penalty from the previous encounter, then that gets put on. There is Max Spooner. He will be joined at some point during the season by Michael Tyler. They will be both running the Toyota Corolla GRs. It's all about getting the brakes and tyres up to temperature ahead of what's going to be an exciting first race. 15 laps, so a total of 45 laps of racing action here tonight for round 5. So the summer break is over, the drivers now primed and ready. They have time to practice ahead of this resumption of the championship season. So they're making their way through what will be Hislops and Knickerbrook for the run through into the left-hand kink here at Clay Hill before the run up towards the water tower. Underneath the bridge they'll go, if there was a bridge, and there is at the actual circuit, I can guarantee you that much. Then the fast right-hander here at Druids Corner, where you're going to drop down a gear or two and just little touch on the brakes and allow the car to rotate in. Then it's the run down towards Lodge Corner, and then it's the roller coaster ride known as Dearly, which then brings them over to the start finish straight. In the team's championship standings, it's THR leading by 22 points ahead of Zancho Simsport, with E-Team Hard rounding out the top 3 positions. Right then, we're ready to get underway for race 1 out of 3 here at Oulton Park Island for the 5th round of the VMO Pixelate Touring Car UK Championship for 2022. Lights are out. Monroe gets a better start than Brewster on the run down towards Old Hall Corner. And before they've even hit the apex, Monroe is ahead of Brewster, so it's Ford versus Infinity. Munro runs a little bit wide, Shepherd not too far behind either. So a ding-dong battle in the early stages as Munro will get the inside line for Cascades, going down through Denton's. Brewster still keeping it pinned to the outside, having to slot in behind. And then Chris Shepherd, the E-Team Hard Vauxhall Astra, looking towards now. This is going to be a tight one. They're rubbing our second and third position. We've got Ryan Elliott and also Luke Maguire, who were battling away side by side. Now they use the push to pass. A few drivers using the hybrid propulsion system, so a little bit of a booster power, aka push to pass. So no ballast involved in this year's championship. But John Munro is starting to eke out a lead, and now he uses the push to pass to try and open up a gap. We ride on board with E-Team Hard's Ryan Elliott, who is behind Chris Shepherd as they go through into the next right-hander. This will be heading down into Lodge Corner, down the dip into Deer Leap, as we're about to complete lap number 1 out of 15. There is a yellow out in Sector 2, so there might have been a little bit of an incident. Actually, they're coming through Lodge Corner right now, and down the dip into Deer Leap they go. Munro leading. A little bit of a touch on the grass, possibly from Elliott in 4th position as they come across the line. Elliott using the push to pass, Brewster used the push to pass, and it's side by side for 3rd position. And now there has been an overtake committed, and that was done by Ryan Elliott. On to lap 2 we go, a little bit further back. Dan Kell being pressurised by Phil Morby in the Team Atagani with Ford Focus, that is. Brewster trying to close the gap on Munro. Luke Maguire looking every which way but loose on Chris Shepherd as they go into the hairpin just off of Lakeside. Now apply the power. Max Spoon has already got himself up from 25th to 20th position. Ryan Elliott also, amongst others, a lot of them using the push to pass just to get that little bit of additional power coming out of the corners. Through Hislop's into Knickerbrook we go. Dust being kicked up. Good work by Moritz Kopp at the moment, having started all the way down towards the bottom end of the top 20. The Nocturne BMW now up to 14th and is chasing down, of all people, THR's Chris Butcher for 13th position. A little bit further back, likes of Leppett, Stevens, Hyde, Redshaw and Spooner all battling away for position. Spooner's got a little bit of distance as Chris Butcher goes exit stage left quite spectacularly, kicks up the dirt, still stays ahead of Moritz Kopp in this battle for 13th position. Yellow out in sector number 3. John Munro is trying to pull a gap, but Cameron Brewster has just put in the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 26.282 seconds as we head on to lap number 3. Behind Moritz Kopp, that is Tom Ely in the number 13 sister car from Nocturne, the BMW 330. While using the push to pass to try and get away from Daniel Hurlock, and also try and close in on Chris Shepherd in the number 11 Team Hard Vauxhall Astra. Hard on the brakes, very close between the two Nocturne cars. So Ely behind Kopp, they're very much close to Butcher. Got, I think that is Johannes Leppert in 16th position, running the TR powered by Geeks Energy sim racing car, using the good old Subaru Levorg GT. Great battle here between the two teammates. The biggest rules of motorsport is never take out your teammates. So if Tom Ely wants to get past Moritz Kopp, he's got to do that nice and easily. And if Moritz Kopp keeps on going a bit wide like that, going through yellow out in sector 2, and the two teammates are side by side. Ely's got the run down into the final corner here at Lodge, and looks to have gotten the advantage. And Moritz Kopp goes down into 15th position. But Tom Ely nearly had a bit of a tank slapper coming out of Lodge Corner. Moritz Kopp will now get the run down to Old Hall. And in the meantime, Ryan Elliott has set the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 26.233. And oh, it was nearly a rubber paint between the two teammates. There's Ryan Elliott closing in on Cameron Brewster, who is in the Drake Racing Infinity Q50. John Munro comfortably leading the race so far. Unfortunately, we've had our first retirement. James Gardner from RCDW in the number 73 has retired after the first couple of laps. But Brewster, Elliott and Shepherd all using the hybrid, using the push to pass. Good to see Mira Schmidt. She's currently running in 9th position. ahead of Ben Willis. Toby Davis, Dan Hutt running out, well, has just got past Toby Davis. But Ryan Elliott putting the pressure on Cameron Brewster for P2. On lap number 4 out of 15, and the battles have been up and down the order. The hybrid system being activated when the drivers require it. They can use it as an attacking or a acceleration countermeasure here on TCUK. Dust kicked up, I think that was from John Munro on that particular occasion. Brewster looking for the inside line, shows his nose to Munro. Elliott closes in under the braking zone, through into Lodge Corner, down through Deerleap. Elliott on the push to pass already before they'd even gotten out the apex. And he's closing in on Brewster. That closing speed of that Astra could look to send it up the inside of the Infinity. Goes through on the inside of Old Hall Corner, and nice and neatly done by Ryan Elliott. Brewster runs a little bit wide. The back left wheel picks up the dirt on the exit of Old Hall Corner as they go down the avenue, Denton's, and through into the left-hander here at Cascades. John Munro, since he got past Cameron Brewster on the start, because Brewster seemed to bog down ever so slightly, Munro got a great pull away and managed to get the Zancho Simsport Ford Focus up front. But because he's had no assistance from anyone around him, Moritz Kropp now coming under fire. That is from Redshaw. That's Lewis Redshaw from Drake Racing in the Infinity Q50 that's just got through on the number 41 Nocturne car. Poor position. Dan Kell being hounded by Phil Morby and the team Atagani with Big Fan Esports Ford Focus. Phil Morby always brings the colourful liveries here to TCUK. Lap 5 out of 15. Still plenty of this race to go. So we still have 25 out of the 26 runners and riders still going strong here at Oulton Park. There are some notable trains behind Phil Morby. That is going to be Miro Schmidt and Ben Willis battling tooth and nail over 9th position. 10 laps to go. We're on to lap number 5. We're effectively on lap 6 out of 15. Phil Morby is definitely putting the pressure onto Dan Kell, who runs wide coming out of Old Hall. Kicks up the dirt with the left rear, but loses as that could be. That is Mira Schmidt that just went up the inside. Now, what has happened to Phil Morby? All of a sudden, he's just lost a bag full of time and has just dropped a position. I think maybe even make that 2, because Mira Schmidt now up into 8th. And then Ben Willis followed past, going through into 9th position. They continued their battle just up ahead. Now there is Toby Davis from Team THR. He's trying to close in on Phil Morby. Very much reminds me of when BAR tried to do a lucky strike and a 555 split livery in the FIA, decided that was not welcomed in Formula 1. Meantime, Chris Shepherd trying to close the gap on Cameron Brewster for P3 and is using the push to pass. Oh, someone's doing the old Aidan Millwall trick. Keep the lights on. That is Dan Hutt for TR, powered by Geeks Energy. He's sitting in 11th position and is 12th position ahead of Tom Ely. Chris Butcher's had a bit of a drama, I think, and he's dropped all the way down to 16th. I'm not too sure what's happened to Chris. Chris, a previous champion of TCUK. It's back in the days of the old Smile Power Racing. Toby Davis trying to close the gap on Phil Morby. We return to the battle for, well, the lead battle is less than 2/10 between them. So Munro uses the push to pass to try and get away from Ryan Elliott. Cameron Brewster uses the push to pass to keep the gap between himself and Chris Shepherd. And then I think I also spotted Luke Maguire also using the push to pass. Now things are starting to come together. The cars are starting to group up a little bit here at the lead of the race. The top 3 are very close together. Then you got Shepherd, Maguire, Herlock, Kell. The top 7 covered by 3.2 seconds. And John Munro doing a steadfast defensive drive on Ryan Elliott. And again, Munro will use the push to pass to try and pull away. But then Elliott will use it as a strategic tool. So when he needs to close that gap, he's going to try and see if he can keep Cameron Brewster from Drake Racing behind him. And he's doing a good job so far, is the number 66 from E-Team Hard. Monroe has kept a hold on proceedings thus far, but things tightening up at the front of the field. Sparks from the back end of the Infinity Q50 of Cameron Brewster from Drake Racing, and it is side by side a little bit further back. Herlock and Maguire going into battle. That was for P5, and Herlock is now ahead of the number 18 BMW 330iM Sport, or 330E as we should call it, because it has a hybrid assist. But still, Cameron Brewster losing ground to Ryan Elliott, who still is keeping John Monroe very honest. Luke Maguire, oh, bit of a touch there between Maguire and Herlock going through, and that was coming down from Lakeside, heading into the hairpin that brings them back onto Hilltop. Then it's down the hill they go into the tight right-left chicane here at Hislops before the right-hander here at Knickerbrook. Got to have these cars cornering on rails. Of course, the rear-wheel drive cars seem to come into their own a little bit late. They seem to get away pretty well. And the front-wheel drive cars seem to always have that little bit of an advantage later on in the race, depending on who's using what tyres when. Another bit of dust kicked up, and that is going through Druids. Flame shooting from the exhaust of Daniel Herlock's Vauxhall Astra. As they come out of the final corner through Deerleap, Stefan McCready, currently sitting in 18th position, has got Sam Dowman in the Vilsman Racing number 8 Infinity. So rear-wheel drive versus rear-wheel drive. McCready from the Pixelates esports crew. McCready currently sitting in 20th position in the championship after the first 4 rounds. So 12 races already completed. We're underway with race 13. Ryan Elliott really starting to stick his nose up the inside through the hairpin from Lakeside down to Hilltop on John Monroe. Monroe again uses that push to pass. It's been vital in his defensive strategy against Ryan Elliott, who is looking to try and get through and take the lead of the race. Ryan Elliott did have a victory earlier on this season. That was back at race 3. The season opener at Donington Park. Since then, he hasn't been in the top 3 since then. It's always side by side between the Focus and the Astra. And oh, Monroe's off. Monroe off the circuit. And that has allowed Elliott, well, John Monroe, at this way, well, it's the yellow out in sector 2 very clearly. I'm not too sure if there might have been a little touch between the pair. And there was, I think, maybe a little bit of a swipe of bumper, front bumper to rear bumper. But John Monroe has recovered and has got himself back into what was 9th position. So that promotes also the likes of Mira Schmidt up to 7th place, Ben Willis up to 8th, Dan Kell now 6th, Luke Maguire in 5th ahead of Daniel Herlock, with Chris Shepherd now rounding out the top 3. So lap 10 out of 15, it's Ryan Elliott that leads the way for the E-Team Hard crew in the number 66, looking to pick up his first victory in what will be 10 races. That's dependent on whether Drake Racing's Cameron Brewster has something to say about it. It's a good solid start here at Oulton Park Island for the E-Team Hard trio, with Chris Shepherd in 3rd, Daniel Herlock, who did put on pole but started P6, now up to 4th place. Through Hislops and back into Knickerbrook they go. Now Ryan Elliott has a little bit of breathing space. He was probably all adrenaline fueled and sweatier than anything. Trying to get through. There's a yellow out in sector 1. I did see someone have a little bit of a moment, I think, coming out of Knickerbrook and going through into Clay Hill, but Ryan Elliott put the pressure on. There's a yellow out in sector 2. Stefan McCready, unfortunately, out on lap number 8, so another retirement down to 24 drivers. Brewster using the push to pass. That was going into Lodge Corner. Now the run down to Deerleap. So Elliott and Brewster might decide to activate their pit push to pass. Elliott does, Brewster does not. Herlock, on the other hand, decides to get that done. So 5 laps to go, including this one. Lap 11 out of 15. And Ryan Elliott has a 4.5 tenths of a second lead over Cameron Brewster. Down the hill through Dentons, into the left at Cascades. Now the short shoot up to Lakeside. Before it's hard on the brakes, turn it right. Rotate the car into the hairpin before going through Hilltop. Brewster right on the back bumper of Ryan Elliott. John Munro is closing in on Ben Willis for 8th position. So could have an opportunity to get some semblance of pride. It was a great showing from Munro in the first 9 or so laps before that incident between himself and Ryan Elliott. It's going to be, I definitely know that's going to be an interesting look back. And Crinnock saying, yeah, what a race so far for E-Team Hard, because 2nd to 5th place all activate their push to passes at the same time. Yellow out in sector number 1. So some drivers having some dramas. I see that Jakub Kowalski, who qualified 14th, now towards the back end of the field in 24th. Now, we're going to go to... so here's the replay. This is what happened to Stefan McCready. Now, this is going through Hirtlops into Knickerbrook. Oh, back end steps out to the right-hand side. I'm wondering if he hit the power a bit too early and into the tyre barriers, and bang, the front end gets a wallop and then gets a touch from behind. Might have been from Chris Butcher, but Chris Butcher had nowhere to go on that one. So Ryan Elliott leads them on to lap number 12. Still leading Cameron Brewster by just over half a second. Looking at the lap times, it's been pretty much the same between Ryan Elliott and Cameron Brewster, both running in the 1 minute 27.1s. John Munro has got the bit between his teeth, running in the his last lap was a 1:28.7. Lewis Redshaw on his last lap, 1 minute 20. As we've got a move happening here, this is the resumption of another battle. This is Shepherd and Maguire again. And oh, what a launch up the inside of Heslops. And the BMW goes wide, goes grass tracking, goes rally crossing in that rear wheel drive thing. And still, well, I think he might have to give that, I would give that place back. That's just my honest opinion. The thing is that Maguire just absolutely sent it through into Heslops, thought he was going to stop it, outbraked himself. And Chris Shepherd thought, well, I'm going to keep out of the way of that car and leave it be. So don't forget, use the hashtags TCUK and hashtag VMO for social media while watching along. Push to pass used by the race leader. As we are now on to, we have 3 laps to go, including this one. Lap 13 underway out of 15. Chris Shepherd losing a bit of time now to Luke Maguire in the leading BMW out of the Nocturne trio. Tom Ely and Moritz Kopp are down in 12th and 13th, but E-Team Hard, they have a car in first, 3rd and 5th. This could help their championship assault on the 2 teams in front, because Zancho Simsport, don't forget, have 2 cars. Dan Kell in 6th, John Munro 9th. THR at the moment, just looking down the order, Chris Butcher down in 14th position, and Toby Davis down in 18th place. Tom Stevens rounds out the top 15, so they're going to find that E-Team Hard will get a bag full of points here in this first race of the evening. But now the gap extends, and it's now a second between Ryan Elliott from E-Team Hard and the number 66 Vauxhall Astra, as Cameron Brewster has a little bit of a drama. That would have been going into Druid's Corner. We got a yellow out in sector number 2. So someone's had a bit of a drama in their own right. Jakub Kowalski has not had a good one. The first sector of him and Sam Dowman, both Wilsman racing cars in 23rd and 24th, having really bad laps. 2 minute 56.8. So nearly 3 minutes for Jakub Kowalski. But we're on to the penultimate lap as Brewster finds that Herlock is trying to close him down. Gap between them is 0.6 of a second down through Denton's into the left-hand sweeper here at Cascades. A little bit of inverse camber towards the left-hand side. And if you do wallop the curbs a bit too hard, especially in wet weather conditions, Cascades can spit you out to the right-hand side quicker than you can say the word jump. But Brewster gets a better run coming out of the hairpin, following on from Lakeside now down the dip into from Hilltop into Hilltops, and then into the next right-hander at Knickerbrook. And next time around it'll be the white flag, because it will be Ryan Elliott all bumping over the curbs. That was a bit of uncharacteristic curb hopping there for Cameron Brewster, as Jakub Kowalski down in 24th and stone dead last sets the fastest lap of the race, so 1 minute 26.207. as Brewster and Herlock engaged in this battle for second place. So could it be an E-Team Hard 1-2 by the time we get into the next lap of the final lap of the race? Well, Herlock's going for the undercut and can't get through, but he's going to pull to the outside of Cameron Brewster, who's gone into the pit lane. Now, has he had a drama, or is he serving a penalty? Because that now means it is an E-Team Hard 1-2. Ryan Elliott making his way through into Cascades for the 15th and final time. And I would imagine that probably is a penalty that might have been activated by the R-Factor 2 system. That meant that the Infinity would go into the pit lane. So it's Elliott from Herlock, Maguire rounding out the top 3. So Nocturne having a good run in the opening race. Well, they've got 2 cars in the top 10. Tom Ely has made his way up to 10th position ahead of the likes of Chris Butcher, Tom Stevens. Tom Stevens, who's just been passed by Phil Morby through Knickerbrook for what's going to be the final time, and it is a comfortable gap for Ryan Elliott. Doesn't have to put a foot wrong, can cruise along to the checkered flag, but Herlock's going to be careful. He's just run wide, and that was coming out of Knickerbrook and going through into Clay Hill. Ryan Elliott making his way through Druids for what's going to be the last time over the dip, under the bridge. One more corner remain, well, 2 more corners remain. Into Lodge Corner comes the number 66 of E-Team Hards, Ryan Elliott, who for the first time in 10 races picks up his 2nd victory of the championship season, and with it gets a total of 21 points. Herlock on the push to pass. What's it going to be like for 2nd and 3rd? It is an E-Team Hard 1-2, courtesy of the number 87 of Daniel Herlock, and then Luke Maguire rounds out the top 3. Chris Shepherd in 4th, Dan Kell starting 12th, finishing in 5th position. Ben Willis, good work by newcomer Mira Schmidt for Go for the Gap Racing in the number 5. She places 7th, having started in 9th place. But look at this battle here. It's not over yet between the likes of Max Spooner. What on earth happened to Toby Davis? That's an uncustomary position. He's gone rally crossing and using the front splitter to mow Jonathan Palmer's grass right there. And right up his back bumper is this to be Daniel Hyde in the other car from Go for the Gap Racing. Max Spooner will cross the line in 19th position, having started down in 25th. But your race 1 winner of the evening here at Oulton Park Island Circuit is Ryan Elliott. Daniel Herlock makes it an E-Team Hard 1-2. Luke Maguire from Nocturne rounds out the top 3, followed by Chris Shepherd. So all three of the E-Team Hard cars making it into the top 4. Dan Kell being the leading light for Zancho Simsport following the unfortunate incident. Well, I'm not too sure if it was an incident with John Munro and Ryan Elliott, but John Munro rounded out the top 8 behind Ben Willis in 6th and Mira Schmidt in 7th place. Dan Hutt on Tom Ely rounded out the top 10. Cameron Brewster, Chris Butcher, Phil Morby, Tom Stevens, Scott Morris, Lewis Redshaw, Moritz Kopp, Johannes Leppert, Max Spooner and Toby Davis round out the top 20. Dan Hyde, Tobias Blumschein, Sam Dowman, Jakub Kowalski were the last of the 24 runners and riders. The last 3 a lap down off of the race winner, with Stefan McCready retiring on lap 8 and James Gardner from RCDW retiring on lap number 2 in the MG6. Right, well, folks, what a way to kickstart round 5 of the 2022 VMO TCUK series by Pixelate here at Oulton Park Island. We're going to have a little bit of an intermission before we get underway with race number 2. See you very soon. Hello everyone, welcome back for race 2 out of 3 for round 5 of the VMO TCUK Championship here at Oulton Park Island. And here's your grid for race 2. It was a 1-2 for Team Hard, so Ryan Elliott and Daniel Hurlock will line up on the front row. Then we'll have Luke Maguire and Chris Shepherd on row 2. Dan Kellenbaum Willis, row 3. Minna Schmidt will be joined by John Monroe on row 4, with Dan Hutt and Tom Eady completing the top 10. Cameron Brewster, Chris Butcher, Phil Morby, who suffered with some lag during the first race. Then we've got Tom Stevens and Scott Morris. They complete the top 15. Lewis Redshaw, Moritz Kopp, Johannes Leppert, Max Spooner and Toby Davis complete the top 20. Daniel Hyde, Tobias Blumschein, Sam Dowman, Jakob Kowalski, Stefan McCready, James Gardner due to start on the grid, but we've actually got Callum Wilson, the 444, the third of the Wilsman Racing cars. He managed to get back into his sim in time, so welcome back. I did know that he did. Well, he was watching on his iPad a little bit earlier on, but luckily enough, everything's come to fruition. Let's see how he gets on in this second race as the cars start to line up on the starting grid. Once again, it will be another 15 laps around this 2.26 mile, 3.6 kilometre circuit. We had some great battles all the way through race 1 here at round 5. What's going to happen here for race 2? It's about who gets the best start, so keep your eyes on Luke Maguire on the inside of row number 2, who rolls back slightly. We wait for the lights to go out, and then when the green flag waves, we get underway here for race 2 out of 3. And the green flag waves, and Hurlock's just stopped on the grid straight away. And everyone got out of the way. Hurlock's already dropped way down the order as boards have flown everywhere before we've even hit the inside of Old Hall Corner for the first time, and someone's gone spearing off into the barriers off of Old Hall Corner. That is going to bring out a yellow flag, and there's someone else. That was, hang on a second, that was Luke Maguire. The Nocturne car was actually on the approach into Cascades, exit stage left and hard into the barriers. And now Minna Schmidt finds herself battling away. Has got Ben Willis from Drake Racing, who's now got Chris Butcher up the inside. They rub panels and ding doors at the same time. So at the moment, it's Ryan Elliott who leads the way ahead of Dan Kell. Chris Shepherd rounding out the top 3. Minna Schmidt go for the gap racing in 4th, followed by Ben Willis. Then it is Chris Butcher, Tom Stevens and Toby Davis. So the 3 THR cars now in the top 10. Drake Racing also have all 3 cars in the top 10, courtesy of Cameron Brewster in 9th and Lewis Redshaw, who rounds out the top 10. Closing in on them is the number 41 BMW 330e M Sport of Nocturne's Moritz Kopp. And it's already race 2 has put the cat amongst the proverbial pigeons, and the biggest casualty of the night so far, John Monroe, out on the spot. That was him that ended up exit stage right, going through in towards Old Hall. So someone must have sent it up the inside and gave him a little bit of a touch, and it sent him spiraling out of control, and the Zancho Simsport Ford Focus will have to reset and wait to come back for race 3 of the night. What as this has meant at the moment? Well, Max Spooner up into 14th, goes a bit wide through Cascades, a bit of trail braking from the right rear of the Toyota Corolla as Richards & Co Racing's Tobias Blumschein in the Ford Focus, the number 21, closing in on the approach through Lakeside into the hairpin, tight on the back bumper with Quartermast Racing's we've got a bit of cone gate action happening here at Oulton Park, as if it wasn't bad enough with seagulls at Zandvoort on our Factor 2. We have cones aplenty here at Oulton Park, and one definitely got swiped away. Ben Willis trying to pull away from the trio of THR Astras, Butcher, Stevens and Davis. Davis rounding out the top 8 has got Cameron Brewster, who finished in 11th position, having to serve a penalty in the first race of the evening on the final lap. It must have been a couple of track cuts too many for the Drake Racing number 39. So Ryan Elliott looking to make it 2 wins out of 2 this evening. Dan Kell, who's currently sitting in, just having a look, where is Dan Kell at the moment? Dan Kell currently second, 1 minute 27.044, 6/10 behind Ryan Elliott, and is also briefly using the push to pass. Lock up of the brakes for Ben Willis going down Dentons and into Cascades. More trail braking from, I think it looks like it was Tom Stevens from THR behind Chris Butcher. So Ben Willis closing on Miller Schmidt. Go for the gap, Toyota Corolla GR. As all the two THR teammates side by side, that's Butcher and Stevens. Wondering who's trying to get the inside line for the right-hander here at Hislops. And be careful here, guys. It's not going to be easy. Well, they make it through nice and cleanly. So one driver backs out and the other one gets through. So Stevens was the one that made the move up the inside of Hislops on Butcher. Toby Davis closed in under braking. So top four covered by just over 1.4 seconds. Ben Willis better watch the curbing, as should Mira Schmidt, because they've just both kicked up the dust. One going through the water tower, one going through Druids. Now into Lodge Corner, down through Deer Leap. Across the line to complete lap number 3. Lap 4 underway, and Dan Kell is closing in on Ryan Elliott for the race lead. Looked up the inside, well, looked to the outside of Old Hall. Elliott kept it pinned on the inside and stayed ahead. And now this has brought Chris Shepherd into the mix. Chris Shepherd going towards the outside, through into Cascades. You can't try and move around the outside there, but he's going to keep it pinned. This could open the door for Mira Schmidt, and also for Ben Willis. And the drivers have got to watch that grass on the right-hand side, down Lakeside, and hard onto the brakes. It's going to be the concertina, the accordion effect here. Ben Willis gets to the outside of Mira Schmidt. But the number 5 from Go for the Gap Racing, with the Josh Revelry stickers on the back there. Don't be a Manus on the back of that car. They come through into Hislops and into Knickerbrook once again. Brake discs glowing bright red through the braking zones. Oh, bit of an off track there from Chris Shepherd. And that was coming through in towards Clay Hill out of Knickerbrook. Kell looking to send it up the inside of Elliott. That'll be going through Druids. No room in the inn there for the number 1 car, the reigning and defending champion. Oh, a little bit of paint swapping between the two, as we've got a yellow out in sector number 2. Dan Kell trying to get the over-under here. Through into Lodge Corner, down into Deer Leap. He's going to run a little bit wide, but he's going to try and pull alongside. Oh, they touch, and Elliott is into the barriers, and he nearly hits the cars behind. Backwards and 180 degrees the wrong way goes Ryan Elliott, and that could possibly spell the end of his race. Oh, one of the THR cars going very, very wide. That was the number 28 of Tom Stevens. Ben Willis still keeping a hold of 4th at the moment as they come through Cascades, but Stevens up the inside for 4th. Kell looking for the inside line on Shepherd. Goes onto the grass, unsettles the Ford Focus. Hard on the brakes, Mira Schmidt to the outside in the Go for the Gap Racing. It's nearly 3 abreast coming out of the hairpin. Oh, a touch on Mira Schmidt by Tom Stevens as the leaders are side by side. Kell's going to get the run down to Hislops down here through Hilltop. And Shepherd's going to have to back out of it. There's a yellow out in sector number 1. And it's all concertinaing at the front of the field. So Kell is your new race leader. Dramas for Ryan Elliott, not the way he would have wanted to end that race. He got a bit too close for comfort, a bit of pushing and shoving, and Elliott hard into the barriers across the start-finish line through Deer Leap. Shepherd now looking to get the pressure put on to Dan Kell for the race 2 lead. Keep your eyes on Mira Schmidt and Tom Stevens. They are chasing quite hard, are the Toyota and the Vauxhall at this moment. Top 4, line astern, covered by less than a second. Through Lodge Corner, down into Deer Leap once again. We complete lap number 5 and on to lap 6 we go. Mira Schmidt using the push to pass to close in on Chris Shepherd in the number 11 E-Team Hard Vauxhall Astra. 10 laps to go, including this one. Dan Kell kicks up the dust coming out of Old Hall and going into the Avenue. Down into Cascades. Down a couple of gears, a little bit of a touch on the brakes. Mira Schmidt having the tightest apex out of all the top 4. And Shepherd and Stevens use the push to pass. Going down Lakeside, Mira Schmidt looking to nose up the inside of Shepherd. Stevens is looking to the outside of the number 5 Toyota. Chris Butcher, in the meantime, has started to close on in. Butcher and Schmidt both use the push to pass, heading down Hilltop into Hislops. Another yellow out in sector number 1. Scott Morris is out of the race. However, Ryan Elliott, I'm pleased to let you all know, he's currently sitting in, well, what will now be a 17th position, because it's another DNF for Stefan McCready in the Pixelate Esports car. Scott Morris in one of the TR cars, unfortunately, has retired from the race, so we are down. Oh, that was a big off-track there. That car went skyward for Chris Shepherd from E-Team Hard, but I don't know how the hell he hung on to that one. That was very much E-Team Hard, Vauxhall Astra here at Oulton Park doing Night Rider Turbo Boost. Right, here comes Tom Stevens, trying to get alongside Mirda Schmidt, going down the main start-finish straight into Old Hall Corner, and they both use the push to pass at exactly the same time. Mirda Schmidt keeps ahead in 3rd position for the moment. Max Spooner now up into 13th position, using his push to pass to catch up with Tobias Blumschein for Richards & Co Racing in the number 21 Ford Focus. And a lot of the drivers using the push to pass. Oh, bit of a nudging, a bit of a nerf from Stevens on Schmidt. Might have been of one good turn deserves another, so to speak. They were rubbing paintwork. But Schmidt still keeps ahead of Stevens for 3rd place. Butcher trying to go defensive on Cameron Brewster, who's closing in on the number 65 for what is 5th place. But we're on board with Moritz Kopp, who's just behind Drake Racing's Ben Willis in the number 85. And that's the battle for 8th place. Behind them, they've got Toby Davis, who completes the top 10. Phil Morby rounds out 11th, ahead of Tobias Blumschein, Max Spooner, and also Luke Maguire rounding out the top 14, with Sam Dowman from Bilsman Racing completing the top 15 overall. We're on lap number 7 out of 15, and Stevens trying to do everything in his power to get past the Go for the Gap Racing Toyota of Mirda Schmidt, who's done a fantastic job so far defending, and now she's closing in on Chris Shepherd for 2nd place, so it could be a 3-way scrap for 2nd on the rostrum, as Stevens hard on the brakes into Old Hall, looks up the inside of Mirda Schmidt, once again unable to get through. There was not enough room there to make that move. Well, Stevens was not close enough to facilitate it. Dan Kell is now away and clear. He's up by a second, maybe make that 1.2 seconds over Chris Shepherd. As now Stevens goes onto the grass whilst trying to force a move and goes off and hits the barriers. Stevens looks to be possibly out of the race. That could be terminal. That car is bouncing up and down. There's possible suspension damage, and now Mirda Schmidt has breathing room, because Chris Butcher is about 0.8 of a second away. Once they get into that 3/10 of a second window and you use that push to pass, you've got that slipstream, and you've got that also electrical assist on these touring cars. So a bit of a disaster there. Real shame for Tom Stevens, who now drops out of the top 10 but looks to still be going. He's currently rounding out the top 11 ahead of Tobias Blumschein. And as always with the front wheel drive cars, once they hit the brakes and turn the car in, it's always either the left rear or the right rear wheel that is not, well, it's either spinning or not spinning, as the case may be. We're on to what's going to be lap number 9 out of 15 as Butcher starts to chase down Mirda Schmidt for that 3rd place. Chris Butcher so far has been on the podium a total of effectively 10 times, when you consider he's been on the podium 8 times. Well, 8 times, and oh, Butcher runs wide coming out of Old Hall. The back axle of the Vauxhall Astra bumps up and down off of the bumpy grass going through the exit of Old Hall. Clark Duffy says, is this the official R-Factor BTCC stuff or the mod? No, these are the official R-Factor 2 content that are being used here. So the new editions of the Toyota Corolla GR and the Infiniti Q50. Of course, new additions to that quite recently will be the i30N TCR. Now, Chris Butcher coming under salvo fire down into his lots from Cameron Brewster from Drake Racing. And then you see a few drivers not too far behind. I spotted both Ben Willis, Moritz Kopp, Toby Davis, and Phil Morby, amongst others. Well, someone's just had a bit of a moment. It's coming out of Knickerbrook. That might have been Moritz Kopp, possibly, or Luke Maguire that had a bit of a tank slapper. And Ryan Elliott on lap number 8 has called time on the race, deciding, well, I'm not going to get a second victory. I've possibly got damage. I'm not going to drive. I'm going to drive the car as far as I can. That's about it. So we are down to 22 out of the 26 drivers. Dan Kell and Chris Shepherd both using their push to pass. Chris Shepherd has got a second gap over Mira Schmidt in third place. Chris Butcher rounds out the top 4 positions with Cameron Brewster completing the top 5. And then Drake Racing having the best effort for a team so far in this race. All 3 cars, all 3 Infinities, rounding out the top 7 positions, 5th, 6th and 7th respectively. Tom Stevens from THR on the comeback trail. And launches it up the inside, and that's double disaster for Tom Stevens in one race. He had the incident trying to make the move on Minna Schmidt, put 2 wheels on the grass, and the car went into the barriers on the left-hand side of the hairpin. And now trying to go through the hairpin up the inside of Phil Morby. The gap was ever closing. Tom Stevens hits the tyre barriers. So very shortly, we'll have just 5 laps to go of what has been a rather interesting and dynamic second race out of 3. Right on board with the number 39 of Cameron Brewster from Drake Racing. So pushing close to 120 miles an hour, down into third gear, just under 60 miles an hour, through into Lodge Corner. Yellow Oulton sector number 3. Cameron Brewster trying to close on in on Chris Butcher just up ahead. Gap between them is about 3 or 4 tenths of a second. And then Dan Hutt might be in the pit lane for serving a penalty, possibly more than likely for track cuts. It's Cameron Brewster really trying to put the frighteners on Chris Butcher, who has a moment coming out of Cascades. Both of them activate their push to pass. The Infinity pulls to the left-hand side on the approach into the hairpin. Butcher gets a little bit of a touch from behind. Brewster trying to go around to the outside to get the over-under. Back end steps out to the left. He put the power down, and then all of a sudden the rear tyres spooled up, and then all of a sudden it was a case of, yep, the back end's going to step out to the left-hand side, and he gets a little bit of a nudge from behind, courtesy of teammate Lewis Redshaw. So at the moment we have Ford leading Vauxhall, leading Toyota, leading Vauxhall, leading 3 Infinities. Excuse me. So lap number 11 out of 15. Chris Shepherd is just about 1.3 seconds ahead of Chris Shepherd, who's in second place. Mira Schmidt about 1.5 seconds behind in third, and she's got a gap of about 1.1 seconds over Chris Butcher. So Moritz Kopp doing a pretty good job. Finished in 17th position last time is all what it looks like. Now, who on earth was that out of the Infinities? Was that Lewis Redshaw that went a bit wide coming out of Old Hall? Might have been the case as they go through Cascades. Now into Lakeside. Gap between the top 2 is extended to nearly 1.5 seconds as Cameron Brewster goes towards the back bumper. He's trying to just put the pressure on. No bumping or running hit, bump and run here. It's right up the back bumper of Chris Butcher. Now the Infinity pulls to the right-hand side of the number 65 Vauxhall Astra. Hard onto the braking zone, they're going to go into Hislops. Brewster's going to get the inside line. Butcher's going to keep it pinned. There was a little bit of a touch between the pair. Sideways and saved by Cameron Brewster. That was high, wide and handsome from the number 39 Drake Racing car, but he still managed to keep the move completed. It was a bit too nip and tuck between them all, but Moritz Kopp is now definitely fending his way through into proceedings, because Ben Willis has now dropped to 8th place as the number 41 Nocturne BMW 330e M Sport makes it into 7th position. Brewster and Butcher at loggerheads again. Oh my goodness me, what on earth is going on here? It's like a... Well, I'm going to say it like it is. Chris Butcher is the THR meat in a Drake Racing Infinity sandwich right now, but Brewster is going to keep it pinned on the inside of Old Hall. Butcher to the outside. Is he going to get the over-under? Is he going to run a little bit wide? Well, the number 34 of Toby Davis runs wide. Phil Morby off-track exit stage left. Moritz Kopp looking up the inside now of 6th position for Lewis Redshaw. The BMW is going to get the run, but Redshaw could get the inside line. depending on how quickly the power is put down by Moritz Krop, down through Lakeside and heading into the braking zone. Moritz Krop is to the outside of Redshaw, could have Willis up the inside, the pair tangle. Redshaw gets sideways coming out of the hairpin. But Dan Kell leading the race by just over 2 seconds from Chris Shepherd. As Cameron Brewster hops over the curbs again like he did in the previous race. Still, Chris Butcher is having a lot of pressure from behind. Lewis Redshaw is really putting the frighteners on the number 65 from THR. There is Cameron Brewster and Redshaw and Butcher are side by side. Redshaw's gotten ahead of him. So out-dragged the Vauxhall Astra. That would have been going through Druids and on the run down to Lodge Corner. 2 more laps to go, including this one. Dan Kell is away and clear from Chris Shepherd to the tune of about 2.5 seconds or so. Schmidt for Go for the Gap Racing rounding out the top 3, but it's all loggerheads behind Cameron Brewster. It is all kicking off because Redshaw's done the push to pass to keep ahead of Butcher as they're going through into Cascades. Line astern, there's 4 cars there. There's 2 Drake Racing cars with Redshaw and Willis and 2 THR cars with Butcher and Davis. Butcher to the outside of Redshaw. Down Lakeside, Redshaw breaks hard into the apex. Willis up the inside of Butcher. Then there's Phil Morby, and then we've also got Moritz Krop from Nocturne, and the number 41 BMW has gotten into the mix. So this is a 6-car scrap of what will be 5th position at the end of the next lap and a bit. A lot of dust being kicked up going through Hislops and into Knickerbrook. She gets a little bit of a wobble, but manages to keep it pinned. Now they're heading past the water tower into Druids Corner. A little bit of curb hopping there from Chris Butcher on the right-hand side. Then the run down to Lodge. Both THR Astras go wide as they make their way down to Lodge Corner and then into dip here at Dearly. Oh, bouncing off and up and down the curves as Chris Butcher going through the apex of the corner. Toby Davis runs wide. Phil Morby to his immediate left. Now we're on to the 15th and final lap, as Morby has to back out of trying to get past Toby Davis for position. That's for 8th place on the road, but Moritz Krop is the danger driver behind. Could use the push to pass quite nicely. Forby and Davis, I'm not too sure if they're coming together a little bit, but Moritz Krop is trying to get 2 for the price of 1 through Cascades. Now, has Krop got through? There's Butcher. What's happening behind them, I wonder? Moritz Krop manages to get into 9th, gets ahead of Phil Morby, so moves up to 9th. Nearly could have had a buy one, get one free on that overtake a chance through Cascades, but the BMW from Nocturne, the number 41, decides to think better of it. Coming into the final stages, as in the last few corners of lap 15 out of 15, Dan Kell from Zancho Simsport looking to further help his championship hopes against Chris Butcher. And there is your race 2 leader out of Drury's Corner for what's going to be the final time. Dan Kell started in 5th position and now has 1 more corner and a dip to negotiate through Lodge Corner for the final time. Down Deer Leap. And this time it is Zancho Simsports Dan Kell that comfortably takes the race 2 victory here at Oulton Park Island Circuit. 2nd for Chris Shepherd. 3rd for Go for the Gap Racing's Mina Schmidt, who also picks up the fastest lap in the process. Max Spooner looking up the inside. This is in Tom Stevens. Oh, and well, that just goes to show how hard and fast it is here in touring car racing. But that concludes race number 2 with Dan Kell becoming your 2nd different winner tonight. There is Tom Ely from Nocturne. Not been an easy one for the crew. 9th, 11th and what will be 20th position. A big thank you to Mathieu Leclerc on the restream chat saying, yep, I am right in terms of Infinity and Toyotas being official RF2 content. But let's have a look at the finishing order for race 2 here at Oulton Park. Dan Kell, the comfortable 2.2 second lead, takes the victory here in race 2, becoming our second different winner tonight. Chris Shepherd makes it one car in the top 2 for E-Team Hard, and what a debut so far for Minna Schmidt. 7th in the first race, P3 in race number 2, ahead of Cameron Brewster, Lewis Redshaw, Ben Willis, Chris Butcher, Toby Davis, Morris Kropp and Phil Morby rounding out the top 10 positions. Looking down from 11th to 20th position, Luke Maguire, Max Spooner pipping Tom Stevens to the checkered for 12th place, ahead of Daniel Hyde in 14th. Callum Wilson, starting at the back of the field, made it way up to 15th position ahead of Vilsman Racing teammate Sam Dowman. Johannes Leppit, Jakub Kowalski, Tobias Blumschein and Tom Ely rounding out the top 20. 22 finishes all in all. Daniel Herlock and Dan Hutt finishing a lap off of the leaders, and we had some retirements. 2 of them major, Ryan Elliott and John Monroe, along with Stefan McCready and Scott Morris. So, 2 races down, 1 to go. And then we have the nice little reverse grid spice up here at Oulton Park. Well, with that being said, we're going to have a little bit of an intermission before we get things going for race number 3. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for race 3 of round 5 of the 2022 VMO TCUK Championship, brought to you in courtesy of Pixelate. Well, we've had our reverse grid draw, and it's going to be the top 11 finishers that are reversed. So here is your starting grid. It's going to be Luke Maguire, who finished in 11th place, starts on pole position. Alongside will be Phil Morby on the front row. Maurice Kropp and Toby Davis on row 2, with Chris Butcher and Ben Willis rounding out the top 3 rows on the grid. Lewis Redshaw and Cameron Brewster will round out the top 4 rows, and Mitter Schmidt and Chris Shepherd round out the top 10 positions. Dan Kell starts on the inside of row number 6 and will be joined by Max Spooner. Tom Stevens and Dan Hyde, row 7. Callum Wilson, Sam Dowman, row 8. Johannes Leppert and Jakob Kowalski, row 9. With Tobias Blumschein and Tom Ely rounding at the top 20. Daniel Herlock, Dan Hart, Ryan Elliott, Stefan McCready, Scott Morris and John Monroe bring up the rear of the 26-strong grid. So far, we've had 2 different winners from 2 different races. It was E-Team Hard's Ryan Elliott in race 1 in the 66 Vauxhall Astra, and then the current reigning and defending champion fired back in race 2. Dan Kell from Zancho Simsport in the number 1 Ford Focus. So once again, we have another 15 laps of this 2.26 mile circuit here at Oulton Park Island. Then in just, 14 days time, 2 weeks from now, we head to Croft on the 21st of September for round 6 of the championship season. So it's going to be fast and furious action over the next few weeks. They're just shy of 2 months after this particular race evening that will have 5 more rounds, a total of 15 races. So we're about to hit the midway point of the season. The drivers now primed and ready to go racing as we wait for the green flag to drop here at Oulton Park Island. Maguire and Morby on the front row. Revs to rising, green flag waves, we're off and away, and a good start from Luke Maguire, but Phil Morby gets a launch and a half. Maurice Kropp drops a little bit behind, but it's going to be Maguire and Morby side by side into Old Hall for the first time of asking. And Morby could get the inside line, he's pulling alongside, he's using the push to pass, as is Maguire, but Maguire gets the run into Cascades first. Morby up the inside of the number 14 Team Atagani Ford Focus. The pair are nearly banging door panels. Toby Davis, however, pulls to the inside, uses the push to pass and gets through on Phil Morby into the hairpin for the first time of asking. The pair go side by side out of the exit of the hairpin. There's Chris Butcher in the number 65, with Maurice Kropp not too far behind in the number 41 Nocturne BMW 330e M Sport. Into Hislops. Butcher has the inside line into the chicane, gets through for second position. Morby gives them a little bit of a love tap from behind, and another one through into Knickerbrook as they make their way through into the next part of the circuit. Clay Hill, Water Tower, then into the right-hander here at Druids. There have been a couple of yellow flags in the meantime as we ride on board with Chris Butcher, who's got Phil Morby right in the crosshairs. As Morby going toe-to-toe, door panel to door panel, side by side with Davis. Now this is going to be into Lodge Corner. Morby, does he outbrake himself? No, he doesn't, but Butcher nearly clatters into the side of Davis through the final corner. Down into Deer Leap and up over the incline they go. And Morby, holding on to second, uses the push to pass to keep Davis at bay. Butcher holding station in 4th, Kropp in 5th. Ben Willis, Lewis Redshaw. Oh no, Toby Davis hard, front end hits the barriers, and Davis looks like he might be, well, he's going to try, he's having to hold his brakes for the moment. Going to have a replay a little bit further back. That's a little bit of a touch. That's the Go for the Gap racing car. Now that was number 2, so that to me, I think that is Dan Hyde, and he's going to get a bit of a hit here. Well, the Subaru turns him around, and he's backwards the wrong way. So Dan Hyde was holding his ground and got a little bit of a desist through Hislops as we're about to complete lap number 2 out of 15. Keep your eyes on John Monroe because he started stone dead last. He's already up into 15th position. And there is John Monroe. There's more dramas behind, in front, because it looks like Tom Ely and one of the Vilsman racing cars, possibly Callum Wilson. There is Wilson, and Wilson's off. And the front end of the Infinity touches the barriers. That would have been coming out of Druids, or maybe even Knickerbrook, and he now rejoins. Ben Willis looking up the inside of Moritz Krop, going through into Lodge Corner, hard on the brakes. Willis locks up, back end steps out to the left-hand side, manages to neatly get the power down. But Luke Maguire in the number 18 Nocturne BMW has just set the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 25.952, and is 2.2 seconds clear of Phil Morby. Chris Butcher rounds out the top 3. Got this battle here. Mira Schmidt closing in on the likes of Lewis Redshaw and Ben Willis, respectively 6th and 5th. There's Moritz Krop. Toby Davis, unfortunately, out of the race after that incident earlier on when he was trying to chase down teammate Chris Butcher and the likes of Phil Morby and race leader Luke Maguire. So yellow out in sector 3 as these drivers make their way down Lakeside, or down Hilltop and into Hislops once again. Butcher using the push to pass to keep Moritz Krop at bay. Ben Willis was also using the push to pass. Nina Schmidt has not placed out of the top 7 so far this evening. She's back up into 7th place and is trying to close in on Lewis Redshaw. Ben Willis, in the meantime, looks for an opportunity. It looked like to be the possible Nigel Mansell dummy, but Ben Willis goes rally crossing and he touches the side of the left rear of Moritz Krop, who still holds on to that 4th position. That's going to allow those behind, Redshaw and Schmidt, to close on in. Ben Willis is trying to do everything he can in his power, and he locks up. So does Redmond, so does Schmidt. They all go rally crossing, coming out of Lodge Corner. And everyone has lost time. Mira Schmidt rounds out the top 10. And there is a THR car. That looks to be Tom Stevens. Tom Stevens has come flying up the order. Now is ahead of Ben Willis. So it's all change. Cameron Brewster there is just ahead of us in the E-Team Hard number 11 Vauxhall Astra of Chris Shepherd. Mira Schmidt finds herself now down in 11th position, not too far behind, about 3/10 off of the car in front, who we're on board with right now. So there is, well, Ryan Elliott has definitely got the side lights ablaze on the front of the Vauxhall Astra from E-Team Hard, the race 1 winner from tonight, already up into P12. And he's not too far behind him, about 1.5 seconds adrift, is the recovering John Monroe, who's had 2 races this evening to pretty much forget. Suspension dramas in the 2nd race after the 1st turn incident. But Tom Stevens trying to close on those in front. So John Monroe, an 8th and a DNF tonight. Not what the Scotsman would have wanted. But Luke Maguire currently leading the way ahead of Phil Morby, both using the push to pass. At 1st and 2nd, Chris Butcher rounds out the top 3. Tom Stevens being closed in on by Cameron Brewster last time around. Brewster was slightly fast. Well, he's not slightly faster this time, but Dan Kell does not need to go off the circuit at Old Hall like he did just then. As they go down the avenue into Denson's now into the left-hander here at Cascades. Then accelerates out of the corner, down Lakeside, short drive down, short run down to the hairpin, which will then bring them onto Hilltop. So up the hill, over the crest, down the dip they go. Lap number 5 out of 15. Battle line still being drawn. Mira Schmidt has got, oh, that was a bit sideways there through Hislops for Tom Stevens. And, well, Ben Willis also had a bit of a code brown moment of his own right there. The back end stepped out on the Infinity. Mira Schmidt now looking to get back up into the top 10. She is currently chasing down Chris Shepherd in the number 11 Vauxhall Astra from E-Team Hard. Depending on what happens in front of Mira Schmidt, could allow her to capitalise. Maguire now nearly 3 seconds ahead, make that 3.1 or so seconds. Chris Shepherd very close on the apex. To go on to 5 laps down, 10 to go. 3 retirements we've got so far. Toby Davis, after that incident earlier on in the race, out on lap number 1, along with Scott Morris. Tom Ely. So we're down to 23 drivers, rounded out by Daniel Hyde from Go for the Gap. His teammate Mira Schmidt trying to find a way back into the top 10. It's a bit of a tall order, does the German driver. Maguire has already checked out and has put in a pretty impressive lap, the fastest lap of the racing tonight so far by my reckoning. We had a 1 minute 26.2 from Jakub Kowalski, also affectionately known as Kuba. And then Mira Schmidt also set the fastest lap in the first race of the night, 1 minute 26.5. So plenty of talking points to dissect after this round. Sure that the stewards will be busy because all the results called tonight. There may be some protests being thrown in. Reference accidents here tonight at Oulton Park. We're on our 6th lap out of 15, the third and final race. Luke Maguire has benefited by being on pole position, and there is one of the cars that is... Oh, well, Moritz Kropp has beached the car, and that's coming through Lodge Corner. Manages to get it going again. That's why the yellow was out in sector number 3, as the number 41 from Nocturne was in the gravel trap, managed to reverse it, get it out, and get back going. It was a very, very strong performance. Kropp at one point was in 4th position. Now that's occupied by Lewis Redshaw. We're going to see what happens here. So here is the replay. Into Lodge Corner, hard on the brakes, right rear locking up like a good one. And Moritz Kropp just goes straight on into the... Oh, and the left front hits the barriers as well for good measure. Moritz Kropp has managed to get that car going. Another retirement on lap number 5. Tobias Blumschein from Richards & Co. out of the race. Number 21 Ford Focus, so we're back down to 22 drivers. That's now rounded out by Callum Wilson from Villersman Racing. Very Germanic sounding team, isn't it? I'm sure that Callum had some kind of input from that. He and Kuba Kowalski run together in other R Factor 2 championships. If memory serves me correctly, GTR 24H. But they do love their touring cars, to those guys. Yellow out in sector number 2. That's the top 10 at the moment on lap number 8 out of 15 for race 3 of round 5 of the 2022 VMO TCUK Championship with Pixelate continues unabated and at full throttle. Lewis Maguire for Nocturne in the number 18 leads Phil Morby from Team Atagani by just over 4.5 seconds. Chris Butcher from THR rounds out the top 3, followed by Drake Racing's Lewis Redshaw. Dan Kell, the defending champion from Sancho Simsport in the number 1 Ford Focus, rounds out the top 5. Then completing the top 10, Tom Stevens, Ben Willis, Cameron Brewster, Chris Shepherd, and Go for the Gap Racing's Mira Schmidt. And again, the Drake Racing cars seem to be like magnets to each other at the moment. We're going to have a replay here. Here's Tobias Blumschein. Oh, now this is not what you want to do. The back end steps out. That's going to be a hard hit. Left rear hits the barriers, and that is more than likely left rear suspension damage, making the Ford Focus limp to a crawl and then stop. And they are falling by the way. Ryan Elliott out. Moritz Kropp out. This race has been a race of attrition. We had 22 finish in the first race, 24 in race 2, and now we are down to 19 drivers. Moritz Kropp and Ryan Elliott retiring on lap 6, along with Stefan McCready from Pixelate Esports. But here is the battle for the final step on the virtual rostrum here in race number 3. Chris Butcher being chased down. This is what's happening. So this is... Now that is probably... that is a replay there. That will be Mira Schmidt, I would believe. That's the number 5 there. And, oh, well... Ryan Elliott, Ryan Elliott having a little bit of a squeeze fest there with Mira Schmidt. Tried to go up the inside and there was nowhere to go, and he's holding his brakes. Oh! And the second impact, that's why Moritz Kropp also retired, because he went flying in to the second part of the Hislop chicane, and yeah, the damage was terminal for both of them. Front end and right hand side for Moritz Kropp, and front end and left hand side for Ryan Elliott. So both out with terminal damage after that exchange. John Monroe at the moment has been flying up the order, the Flying Scotsman, up into what is now 11th position, half a second behind Minishmet. So possibility for a top 10 to finish the night for John Munro from Zancho Simsport could be a nice little way, a nice little sweetener after the suspension DNF in the previous race. But keep your eyes on this battle. Tom Stevens versus Ben Willis. Battle for what is going to be 6th position on the road. Into Lodge Corner they go. Down Deer Leap. It's front-wheel drive Astra versus rear-wheel drive Infinity as there's sparks flying from the car behind, which is Cameron Brewster. And look at the overspeed. Look at the overspeed of the Infinity getting past. But Willis is going to go wide. That's going to allow the door for Brewster to be opened. Brewster's looking towards the outside. Stevens ahead as they go down into Cascades. And then the run down Lakeside into the hairpin. Keep your eyes on Chris Shepherd. Shepherd not too far behind. Shepherd taking second in the previous race and taking 4th in the first race here. Ben Willis has a little bit of a love tap on the back bumper of Stevens. That unsettles the back of the number 85 Drake Racing Infinity Q50. But here is another battle that we really need to keep our eyes on. So we're about to complete lap number 10 out of 15 with 5 laps to go. We're on board the number 24 Infinity Q50 of Drake Racing's Lewis Redshaw, who is still hunting down Chris Butcher. It's not been an easy evening for the number 65 from T8 Sharp. Butcher finished 12th in the first race, managed to get 7th in the previous race, and now is keeping one hand on that final spot on the rostrum. But it's whether Redshaw can do anything about it. Into Lodge Corner, 5 laps to go as Maguire has crossed the stripe. 6.4 seconds ahead of Phil Morby. Maguire has checked out and is not looking back, just concentrating on his own race. There's battles up and down the order. Again, Stevens versus Willis. This time into Old Hall. Willis to the outside, runs wide using the curbing. Kicks up the dust. He's now got the inside line for Cascades. As they go down into Denton's, into Cascades now. Willis tighter on the inside. Stevens is going to get the inside line for the next hairpin as they run down Lakeside. Keep your eyes on Shepherd just behind. And hard on the brakes, locks up does Stevens. Willis to the outside through the hairpin. And both the Drake Racing Infinities have a little bit of an oversteer kick out when they're applying the throttle through the hairpin. Downhill top and into Hislops, hard on the brakes goes Stevens again, defensive into Hislops. Very tight between the pair. Willis kicks up the dirt with the left rear of the Infinity as they now go through Knickerbrook. Now up towards Water Tower. Willis trying to use that overspeed. Oh, and he has a massive wobble while pulling to the left-hand side of Tom Stevens. That was going through Water Tower. Into Druids once again. It has been a bit of a dogfight here for this position. So going through into Lodge Corner once again. Tight on the apex. Willis bouncing off the curbs as he really launched the Infinity to the inside. Now on to lap number 12. 4 to go, including this one. It's now Shepherd fires it up the inside of Brewster and has got through. Up to P8 goes the number 11 from E-Team Hard. However, Brewster not going to let that go as they filter their way through into the left-hander here at Cascades. Shepherd stays ahead. Had the benefit of the inside racing line to keep that car in front. Hard on the brakes through Lakeside and into the hairpin. It's going to be pretty much a formality with 3 different winners here tonight at Oulton Park for what will effectively be the way to kickstart the second half of this championship season, which could hit fever pitch next time out at Croft in just a couple of weeks' time on the 21st of September. We still have 19 cars running as ahead of Chris Shepherd again. Willis and Stevens embroiled in this battle. No one wants to give any room at all. Redshaw up the inside of Butcher. Oh, and tags Butcher. Butcher saves it going through Lodge Corner. The slightest of touches for Chris Butcher, but he keeps 3rd position as Redshaw gets compromised. Dan Kell trying to close. Stevens goes onto the grass whilst trying to get, well, Stevens didn't get on the grass. My apologies there. That was Ben Willis. Now, Willis has got the number 11 car. That's Chris Stevens from E-Team Hard closing down. And then they've also got Cameron Brewster. It's a four-way scrap in the dying stages. We've got this and 2 more laps to go. And we've got a four-way scrap, 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th. Over the position occupied by the number 28 of THR's Tom Stevens. Down Lakeside once again. Locking up on the rear does Tom Stevens. Ben Willis trying to use the undercut by going to the outside on the hairpin going through Lakeside, and now they're going down Hilltop. Now, does Ben Willis have the overspeed? He doesn't. The Infinity has a good launch out of the corners as long as you don't spool up the rear tyres. Now Stevens through into Knickerbrook, keeps ahead for 6th position. Now through into the left-hand kink here at Calais Hill, brings them up towards Watertower. Oh, a little bit of a cheeky look up the inside from Ben Willis on Tom Stevens. Now they've got the run down to Druids. Stevens to the inside, Willis to the outside. Now the crest they go over the crest, and Stevens keeps the advantage for the moment, but Willis attempting not to be denied. Meanwhile, the battle for P3 still waging on. Redshaw in 4th, battling away with Chris Butcher. And now Stevens loses not just 1 place, loses 2. Both Willis and also Shepherd get through. And there goes Cameron Brewster. Well, would you believe it? Tom Stevens down from 6th to the 9th. The shake of the dice, where you get some get lucky number 7, some get snake eyes. And Mira Schmidt, I just saw in the background, going off at Old Hall. She's lost out 10th position to the recovering John Munro, who now rounds out the top 10. We're on to the 14th and penultimate lap of this final race this evening, and everyone's got their elbows out. Oh, Stevens looking up the inside of Cameron Brewster through the hairpin. It's a little bit of pushing and shoving all sideways from Brewster, and he's off the track and he's lost a position. Down to 9th goes Brewster, and there's John Munro, and there's Mira Schmidt. What was a 4-way battle for 6th position now becomes a 4-way battle for 8th. We've got 1 more lap to go, and Luke Maguire from Nocturne is away and cleared by well over 10 seconds ahead of Phil Morby. Chris Butcher a further 3.3 seconds back in 3rd place, as Maguire has only got less than 2 miles to navigate. Very, very short. Well, he's got just over 2.2 miles now to navigate, as the number 18 Nocturne BMW 330 EM Sport goes on to the 15th and final lap. And there are still battles to be waged, because John Munro at the moment has gained 16 positions from dead last in 26th, and he's gunning for place number 17 to make up. He's definitely, I know John Munro very, very well, a keen sim racer, but also competes in real life, and he will know this track very, very well, and he's looking to size up a move. He's not going to throw it up the inside of Cascades unless Stevens open the door wider than a pair of big barn doors on a farm. But there on the picture-in-picture, there is your race leader going through Knickerbrook for the final time. Luke Maguire took pole position through the reverse grid draw, having finished 11th in the previous race. He's now making his way through Watertower, up to the run towards Druids Corner. Hard on the brakes, down to 3rd gear. And now the run down to Lodge Corner. We still keep our eyes on this battle. Stevens gets compromised, has a slight touch with the barriers going through the first part of his lops, but Luke Maguire out of the final corner, down Dearleaf. It's 3 for 3 here at Oulton Park, as Nocturne's number 18 takes the checkered flag and wins race 3 out of round 5 by a comfortable margin. And Tom Stevens holding off John Munro right up into the dying death. And there is Mira Schmidt. Phil Morby will take 2nd. Chris Butcher holds on to 3rd place ahead of Lewis Redshaw. And look, it's nearly 3 wide. Stevens has got Mira Schmidt bandsaing up the inside. Munro goes off. Stevens goes off. Can Schmidt make the opportunity? She decides to think better of it and holds station in 10th position. Lets the pair go past. Great sportsmanship there from Mira Schmidt from Go for the Gap Racing to stay in 11th at the flag. Max Spooner finishes in 14th behind Daniel Herlock. There is Dan Hyde, the sister car in the number 2 Toyota Corolla GR from Go for the Gap Racing. But it's been 3 for 3 here tonight at what has been an absolutely dynamite 3 races here at Oulton Park Island Circuit. So 3 different winners from 3 different races tonight. Could you have seen that on the cards, ladies and gentlemen? I think maybe not. But let's have a look at the results from race 3 of round 5 of the 2022 VMO TCUK Championship with Pixelate. Luke Maguire makes it 3 different winners from 3 different races, ahead of Phil Morby by just over 11 seconds. Chris Butcher keeps some good points in his pocket, courtesy of the 3rd place here tonight, out-dragging Lewis Redshaw in the dying stages. Dan Kell closed up to the 2 in front, but only managed to take P5, having won race 2 earlier on tonight. Ben Willis, Chris Shepherd, Cameron Brewster and Tom Stevens round out the top 10 positions in the finishing order. Great debut, a 7th, a 3rd and an 11th for Myrna Schmidt for Go For The Gap Racing. Dan Hutt finishing in 12th ahead of Daniel Herlock. Max Spooner has a couple of top 15s to his credit tonight, courtesy of this race as well. The number 63 from Quartermass Motorsport in 14th ahead of TR powered by Geeks Energies. Johannes Leppert in the Subaru Levorg GT number 40. Jakub Kowalski and Callum Wilson round out the top 17 with Daniel Hyde and Sam Dowman rounding out the 19 drivers that finished all 15 racing laps. But unfortunately, we had some casualties. Moritz Knopp from in the number 41, Ryan Elliott in the number 66 with Stefan McCready, Tobias Blumschein, Tom Ely, Scott Morris, and the biggest casualty of all, along with Ryan Elliott, Toby Davis in the number 34 THR Vauxhall Astra. Well, that just goes to show that when the elbows are out, things will definitely happen. And I've got our first interviewee. Let's have a chat with the man that is looking to get another TCUK title. I definitely know that for sure. Hopefully we'll have a chat with our 3rd place finisher. Very good evening, Chris Butcher.
Hi, Alex.
Well, long time no speak, my friend. It's been a while, isn't it?
It has been a while, yeah.
That was definitely elbows out at dawn, wasn't it, here in that 3rd race?
Yeah, it was. I don't know if you want to call it touring car racing at its finest or what. I'm not really sure, but yeah, it was really, really tough. We turned up here today with about 10 laps practice, no setup work. So yeah, we were on the back foot, and it was pretty difficult, and we just didn't have the pace here, to be honest with you. So it was holding on by the skin of our teeth, so to speak.
Very much the case. I think, when we last spoke, I think the last time it was THR when you were still running with Toby Davis, which you still do now. I mean, it was a real shame for Toby because you guys had a little bit more of a bit of luck, but not so much lady luck, but I think a bit more of luck on your side, so to speak. But Toby's massive off in that 3rd race. I think the words peed off is probably an understatement to say how he's feeling right now after that.
I think he's okay about it, to be honest with you. He tried something on the setup because we feel like we've been missing something for the last few rounds, and seeing as there was a bit of a physics update in the game, we just thought we'd try something, and it didn't work, and that was the end result basically. So he kind of took one for the team there to try and work out what we were missing, and we at the end of the day we drive these cars for a bit of fun. We're here because we all really like touring car racing, and yeah, we want to do well, but we want to have a laugh at the same time as well. So yeah, I think he feels okay about it. We don't really feel any pressure. We're just here to have a good time basically.
Well, that's the whole point in these kind of leagues, isn't it? You catch up with your mates on a Discord server and have a bit of laugh, have a bit of fun, and some people do. Let's be honest here, Chris. Some people take it ultra competitive, don't they?
They do, and you probably know that I'm usually one of those people, to be fair. And I have been known to get pretty angry at times.
Oh yes, I do.
Yeah,
I do remember the old Small Power Racing days.
Yeah, but yeah. So yeah, I kind of fall into that camp myself, to be honest with you. But I had a bit of a paddy at Thruxton when I didn't do very well, and Toby gave me a very stern talking to. So I'm kind of just going into it now. We're trying not to get too wound up, and just trying to enjoy myself and have a laugh with all my friends.
Yeah, how's the feeling? I mean, obviously 2 weeks' time, you guys go to Croft for another 3 races. How's the Astra going to hold up there, do you think?
The problem that we've got is that me and Luke are in a very tight championship fight over in another league, and a lot of our effort is going towards that. So to be totally frank, we haven't done any prep work for Croft, and we probably won't until the night before the event. So it's tough. I think Croft's going to suit the rear-wheel drive cars very well, and I'm not sure where I am in the championship, but qualifying on maximum ballast in these cars is really tough, and there's a lot of people that can be right up there at the front. So that kind of sets you the tone for the whole event. Qualifying down in 15th is not ideal, and makes the races pretty tricky. But we just try our best, and we'll see what happens at the end of the season.
Indeed. Well, Chris, thanks for talking to me. All the very best of luck. Good to see you on the podium in the final race of the evening. Well done tonight, mate.
Thanks, Alex.
Right. Okay. So from Chris Butcher, we're actually going to speak to our runner-up tonight. Hello, Phil Morby. How are you?
Hot.
Well, at least you got over the R Factor 2 lag from the first race.
There's nothing worse. I mean, like I said, we've done this is round evening 5, and the first 4 evenings, no issue. Last season, no issue, and then just suddenly the car's doing half the speed. You can just see the gap crunch down. It's quite annoying, but just RF2 things, right?
Yeah, there's always things when physics mods get updated, and everyone's got to sort of bite the bullet on it. But to get I think it's always quite good when you get an opportunity to be on the front row for the reverse grid race 3, where you and Luke were on the front row. I think it was just a case that you were just running your own race and thinking, well, I've got a chance of a podium here, and you definitely made good your intentions.
Yeah, I think my chance for a race win kind of finished at the exit of turn 1, and I was like, right, that's that done. Let's now look at the podium side of things. Both on softs. I knew I was going to struggle really hard on softs. I finished nearly on single digits. On the front left, I knew I was going to have to pace myself. I could see Butcher was, it jumped between 1.5 and 3 seconds the entire race, and I was just making sure that didn't jump massively, and just kind of bring it home, I suppose, for the first podium of the season. So I'll happily start second, finish second. Could have done better, maybe, but I'm happy with that.
Still remember, you still bring the old bright liveries here to the VMO, don't you? I still remember the days when you're running in the Subaru Levorg, and it was the brightest cyan blue I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
And I made a reference to BAR. Well, what was it? BAR's attempt of a Lucky Strike and 555 livery in Formula One, and that's the sort of like the vibe I got from your car.
I like that style. Yeah, I really do. And this year was kind of a bit of a running joke, because obviously it's the Toyota physics on the Ford Focus, so it's the Toyota or the Toyota Tord. And just kind of mess around, and got just having fun, and I really enjoyed. I've enjoyed so far this season. Obviously, really happy with tonight. So long may that continue. Ironically, I'm not here next race, but got a few rounds after that to see if I can get another podium. Be nice.
There's always Snetterton on the 5th of October, so you never know your luck. You never know your luck. But Phil, well done tonight.
Thanks,
good to chat with you again, and hopefully we'll speak to you soon.
Thanks. See you again soon.
So a big thank you to our second place finisher in race number 3. But let's have a chat with our race winner in race 3. Got the lucky draw of being 11th in race 2, but comfortably won race 3. Let's see if we can have a chat with we're going to try and see. I'm not too sure. I'm hopefully going to try and speak to. Well, let's speak to Dan Kell first of all. Dan, good evening, buddy. Race 2 victory. Very, very interesting how this race evening has panned out. I mean, everyone had their handbags out, didn't they, at dawn?
Yeah, it was quite surprising, to be honest, because I just really didn't think I'd have the pace in race 2 to win it, but I kind of got a bit lucky at the start with the massive crash that happened. It opened up really nicely on the right-hand side, so he was able to get behind Ryan. Then we had a small incident, but yeah, I'm happy with the win. And then, to be honest, I'm probably more happy about race 3. I went 11th to P5 on full weight and softs. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Well, you've also been dabbling in a little bit of real life racing as well, haven't you? If memory serves me correctly.
Yeah. Been doing it for a couple of years now, but managed to win my class championship this year, which was good fun. Bit of a shame the season's over in August, but I've got a couple of things lined up.
Well, and of course you've got the rest of this championship as well to worry about for the next 4 rounds, haven't you?
Exactly, yeah. It's going to be interesting the next one though, because I won't be at my own rig for the next round. I'm using a mate's, with probably about an hour's practice beforehand, so that'll be quite fun with how I get on the next round.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one at Croft. But Dan, well done tonight. I know that things are tightening up at the sharper end of the grid, but all the very best, and I'm sure that we'll chat in the not too distant future, buddy.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Cheers.
Big thank you there to Zancho Simsport's Dan Kell. Let's see if we can get our race 3 winner in. If we can get Luke Maguire in, if he's not too busy chatting at the moment with some of the other drivers. Well, Luke Maguire, very good evening. Firstly, congratulations on getting the luck of the draw, finishing 11th in race 2 and comfortably winning ahead of Phil Morby by well over 10 seconds in race 3. How's that for an evening ender for you?
Good, yeah, good ending. I think the race 1, we did well to get P3 in the end, I think it was, and I got well. I think me and Chris Shepherd kind of tangled in race 2, so that put me back of the grid. I was P20, and then I made my way all the way back to P11. With it said my rear wing was off, so the car was really skiddy in the rear, but it actually wasn't undrivable. And then made a good start there in race 3, and I just tried to pull away a gap until the tires came off, but they held on, and the pace was really good, actually better than the hard for me.
Yeah, I think it's always nice when you see people have an opportunity to go on to a reverse grid race 3, and the launch that Phil Morby had, I was a bit worried for you, I'll be completely honest, when he tried to get around the outside of Old Hall and then try and keep it pinned going into Cascades, but you kept it pinned around the outside, you made it stick, and from there on you didn't really look back, did you?
No, see, what happened at the start was I couldn't actually see the lights, and I'm not used to not seeing them, so I drive like in cockpit view, so I couldn't see the lights, and then I would never usually use the overlay down the bottom right to see when the countdown's going to start, but I was going to do that, and when I heard the kind of sound come on, I kind of panicked, and I just went with the sound of the lights going off, so that's why my launch was so bad.
Well, Luke, well done tonight. I mean, how are things? I mean, we know that you guys at Nocturne a 3-car entry with the BMW 330 EM Sport. That's a good sign of motivation going into Croft in a couple of weeks' time, isn't it?
It's definitely a good car. I think we just need to get the setup down and probably do more laps. I mean, I think we all just came on the day before today and did laps, but I feel like we were up to the speed that we were going to be at anyways. But I think we need to do a bit more work on the setup, as it tends to get a bit too much wear on the front left there in that race on the medium. So need to work on that.
Well, Luke, well done in race 3 tonight, and have a good one. We'll talk to you hopefully very, very soon in another future round.
Hopefully. Thanks, Alex.
Well, we've got time, I think, probably for one more interview. Let's bring in someone who is hoping to have a good race evening tonight. Let's bring in Zancho Simsport's John Monroe, because I haven't spoken to him for quite a while, if we can. Mr. Monroe, it all went a bit south, didn't it, in race 2? What happened?
It went south a bit before that, to be fair. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It was. Just one of those nights, to be fair. Both myself and Dan were quite late to getting out on circuit, so we were kind of not expecting too much. But pace looked okay in the few hours leading up to the race, so we were feeling pretty good. And managed to get 3rd on the grid for the first race, which I was happy enough with. And then was leading it, obviously, and just a bit of unfortunate contact going into Druids. Just nothing I could really do there, and that put us off. But yeah, race 2 was again just I made a good start, got off the line well, and all of a sudden the cars parted ways in front of me, and there was Dan Hurlock stalled. So I had nowhere to go, and ended up, I think, pit wall, hitting about 3 cars, and then the Armco. So yeah, not a great first lap, let's be honest.
True, but you came storming through the field in race 3, mate. Characteristic of you, whenever you're at the back end of the field, it's sort of like I always go, right, if John Monroe's in this race, watch out. And I mean, like, there was a titanic battle between you and the likes of, getting past Mida Schmidt, who is running in the top 10. She's done pretty well on her debut, an accomplished esports driver in her own right. But to get up, like, the best part of, what was it, 16, 17 places by the end of a 15-lap race and still being embroiled in a to and fro, it's like a pendulum was swinging. I didn't know which way it was going to swing, whether it was going to swing in your favour or Tom Stevens' favour, but again, it just goes to show that when you've got no pressure, that's when you really get those flying laps in, and you can really put the hammer down, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a weird season, to be honest, because I had a really bad start in the first round and then missed the second round, so I've had no weight in the first race. So it's allowed me to pick up wins and pole positions in the first race each time, but my second and third races have been pretty terrible, to be honest. So this time it was, we were trying to do the same thing again, but race 1 went wrong and then race 2 was a disaster. So yeah, back of the grid, absolutely nothing to lose from P26, and I just kind of decided to follow Ryan Elliott because I knew he had good pace, and honestly the first 2 laps, everyone was just parting the way for me. Like, everyone was crashing into each other, there was cars off left, right and centre, and I was just trying to stay committed and stay nice and clean, and it really did work. So I was up about 10 places within the first probably 4 or 5 laps, and then I had a great battle at the end there, great race with Mira. It was really clean, really exciting, really close, and it was properly tough as well. As soon as I got the move done, I couldn't really pull away, but we obviously caught Tom in the last lap, and I had so much push to pass left, I knew I was going to save it for the second half of the lap. Made the move. I don't know if you caught the very last corner, Alex, on the broadcast, but I had an absolute shocker. I went in too deep, went on the gravel, and thankfully I think there was contact between Mira and Tom. Yeah. So there was contact between Mira and Tom, and because of that, Mira actually lifted to let Tom back through. So even though I'd completely on my own gone into the gravel, I would have lost 2 places. They both had to slow down, so I ended up taking P9 anyway. So a bit of a weird one, but it was good fun.
Yeah, we did actually switch to that, like, after Luke Maguire had crossed the line, and, like, literally Mira had sent it up the inside of Tom, clattered door panels. You'd gone wide as well, and I was just like thinking, this could all go horribly wrong, and all 3 cars are out on the spot. It didn't, thank God. And you were doing a bit of bit of rally crossing, like Travis Pastrana, and mowing the grass whilst you were at it as well, including kicking up the dust. But mate, that was a great drive. It's good to catch up with you. It's been a long while, but well done tonight in that great recovery drive in race 3, and good to chat again, mate.
Yeah, thanks very much. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the racing, and we'll see you again next time.
Indeed. Big thank you there to Zancho Simsport's John Monroe. Well, that wraps things up here at round 5 of the 2022 VMO TCUK Championship with Pixelate. I've been Alex Goldschmidt. A big thank you to our broadcast producer, Mike Yao, behind the scenes. And hopefully we'll see you again soon. Next up, it's Croft in 2 weeks' time on the 22nd of September. Until then, good night for now.